Thank you for being here today. We have discovered and found out that this evening there has been an accident at the Pela production plant. There was an explosion. So far we have discovered that 15 people were injured and there were 3 fatalities. We've been speaking with the victims and their families in order to ensure that the survivors recover fully and the decedent's loved ones have the support and care they need in order to get through this trying time. We are taking action to investigate what caused the explosion at our facility and will continue to update the public with full transparency. Training for first aid and disaster planning will be provided to all of our employees, as training with heavy machinery will be provided to most in order to ensure that something like this never happens again in the future. We are doing everything we can to make sure that our facility is the safest it can be, and updates will continue to be provided. Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit about bridging and what it is and what exactly we are going to need to do in the coming weeks. Since we have had this crisis at our facility with our company, we are going to have to answer some difficult questions from the press, especially since it's dealt with fatalities of employees. We have, as we said, 3 confirmed so far, 15 injuries. This is a big deal. We are going to have to address this with the public. The press is going to be asking a lot of questions like, could we have foreseen this? Or is it our fault? Could we have done something to avoid this? Who is at fault here? Essentially is what they're going to be wanting. The press, per usual, is always searching for blood. So, in that case, we are going to have to do what we call bridging. So, when the press asks us a question that we don't know how to answer per se in maybe a politically correct way, on the lower scale of things, or if they ask us a question that we would look bad answering with complete and total candor, we will have to figure out a way to bridge that into an answer, and therein lies another question. So we will essentially need to get the key message that's related to the question, but not necessarily that answer, if that makes sense. So what we're going to have to do is we are going to have to practice with our PR representatives and give them examples of those kinds of questions. So for example, like I said before, who is at fault for this explosion? If we were to not use bridging, we could easily say the company who created the machine, or we could say the person managing it, if we find that out to be true. That would not reflect well on us as a company, so what we're going to have to do is we are going to have to say either we don't know at this time, we are still investigating it, we are still doing a full investigation and start talking about that, or if we do know who's at fault, we are going to have to essentially deflect with something, for example, like, we are still investigating, we are coming up with possible answers as to if this could have been avoided. All we know now is that we are doing everything in our power to avoid this occurring in the future. Something like that. It stays vague, still is trying to get that key message that we are doing something to solve, future crises and, the backlash on this one. But also stays away from the nitty-gritty of who exactly, if we should have done something different, if it's our fault. We want to still give off a good public image and make it look like we actually, as a company, are banding together and doing something about this problem, what happened, to make sure it never happens again. We should also keep to the key message of we are supporting the victims of this accident as a company, talking about how we will give them leave, psychological counseling, training for first aid and such. Other than that, bridge away.